last week we were discussing about how to get stuff in government school classes
Mm-hmm.
using the toys and using a lot of other resources that are available. Like
Right.
there are teachersofindia.org,
Yes.
and thanks to you, Aditya, and me, even the science monk
Dot
dot org,
wordpress.com.
exactly .wordpress.com. So I think there have been there's some exciting updates on that front.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and not sure if you've seen the fifth standard resource that we
Yeah,
have,
I've
the
seen
Excel
it.
sheet.
Yes, I've
You would
seen
have
it.
seen it, yeah.
Yes.
So how did it seem? Did it seem very cluttered, or it seemed as if you could actually make things um, out?
No, I think it was fine. It was very helpful because it breaks down the chapters into various topics and the content
Mhm.
under various topics, and it also lists out the various figures and experiments that are already provided in the textbooks to explain each concept.
Okay.
But we can definitely build on the resources that we have from the textbooks, and we
Right.
can use information available on the internet and other
Okay.
small experiments that we can think of the top of our head
Okay.
to explain and demonstrate various concepts. So I
Mhm.
think a lot can be included into the Excel sheet as it is now.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think that's the next step now.
Okay.
For
So.
instance, I think when there's one topic that talks about the respiratory system,
Mhm.
a very simple experiment or an example to get the students' attention when you're teaching, say, lungs in class.
Mhm.
Just like you pick up a balloon and get someone to inflate it, and you can show them that. So when you take a deep breath and you fill your lungs, just like you fill air into the balloon, it expands. And when all the air escapes out of the balloon, that's what your lung the shrinks. And when you let air out, so those kind of things can
Right.
be included.
Right. Right. So things like this would act as um, important resources for teachers because
Hmm.
and right now I think the stage at which we are looking at operationally
Yep.
is teachers who are already really motivated but would maybe not get these resources even using Google Chacha
Sure.
because this is something just a while ago I was talking to another teacher, Teach for India fellow,
Okay.
Shruti Manerkar, who's teaching 8th standard in a Vidyaniketan school in Pune, and
Okay.
she's doing a lot of awesome stuff. And every Saturday she actually calls one resource person to interact with the kids, to talk about careers, and
Oh.
just random stuff, and takes hands-on stuff in class also. Um, so on her Facebook page, you can keep seeing stuff that she does in class, and even with respect to, for example, even after having done some hands-on stuff in the class, they were she was like kind of telling she still has to search a lot on Google, and she has to
Yeah.
spend a lot of time. So then she was like really excited after getting to know that we could actually help her out in some infinitesimal way,
Sure.
where we can give her an Excel sheet and
Yeah.
with comments and with the syllabus overlaid with
Yep.
some of the stuff on arvindguttatoys.com, or even say teachersofindia.com, and even it makes really useful a resource for a teacher, even if you say between this this second and this second of the lecture,
Yeah.
it's going to be useful for that concept.
Sure.
Even that kind of thing, I think that's going to be useful for a teacher who has anyway a lot on her hand, her or his hand, to teach in class, because especially in government schools or even in other schools, I guess, you have to spend a lot of time just to make these guys quiet
Yeah.
and get
Getting them to
attention.
actually listen to you in a class.
Yeah, yeah, listen to you, and whether they're not learning from it or not is, totally third person
Yeah,
discussion.
I think this is really helpful because I know that at least a good teacher will spend a lot of time outside of class hours preparing for a class, like preparing a lesson plan. And what we're trying to do is help simplify that process. We are giving you something that you can very quickly make a lesson plan out of. We're just charting out things like what you're supposed to cover according to the syllabus, what the textbook contains, and how you can teach this and how you can plan out your class. And the way you execute it, of course, is totally up to you. It's in your hands. That's the freedom of how you want to teach. But we are kind of making life easier for the teacher in terms of helping them quickly prepare a lesson plan. So they can spend more of their energy actually in the classroom, interacting with the kids, and worrying less about, okay, what's to be done next? What should I teach next? How should I teach this topic?
Right. Although I think I mean elaborating that further, and also with respect to a discussion I had with Arvind Gupta, that a lot of times it's really useful that you just show, okay, how can this be explained, and not how should you explain this. So that's like a
Right.
very big difference.
Yeah.
And he said that it should be left to the discretion of the teacher,
Yeah.
um, because sure, here we're talking about Teach for India fellows who might be motivated to really teach the stuff in the way they want it, in the way the students receive it most efficiently. Then looking at the larger goal that we're trying to go towards, seeing that a motivated government school teacher, who's there's normal background and not necessarily from an IIT or an IIM or a Berkeley Institute of Politics, would maybe um, find this resource useful to actually teach in class. So I think, yeah, so that's going to be an interesting challenge, and which is going to be fun to see.
Yep.
Yeah. So with respect to that, I think what we can just do is that have a screenshot of the resource that we have right now,
Sure.
which is very rough, and
Lots of blanks to be filled in
yeah,
eventually.
yeah, lots of blanks to be filled in eventually. And right now it's a little like the mirror image. In Yeah, I think right now it's again inverted the mirror image. So this also kind of shows how the human eye works. So the human eye first does a mirror image and then again does a inverted. Again reflects it, and that's how we see. Um, so I'm not sure later if we can again use that example to show Fourier transform and inverse Fourier transform when actually optical instruments use that same stuff. But cool, I guess that's like a separate discussion.
Yeah,
So,
you can. The simplest, like in a real life Fourier transform, is just sending light through a prism. It
oh,
basically just,
okay,
if you send white light through a prism, and what you get on the other side is different frequencies of light split up, right?
okay,
That's one way to think about it. Of course, let's not get into the very detailed mathematics of things, but
sure,
if you're trying to teach at very beginner, maybe even school level without calling it Fourier transform, to
definitely.
say that information, I mean, different frequencies
Mhm.
uh, comprise one total signal.
Okay, okay. So,
What?
and that actually the frequency part can also be motivated through. There's one nice toy that can be made using straws and a sellotape.
Oh,
Excuse me. And so their frequency, wavelength, and even a wave that can be very well motivated. So that's a nice point. We can stitch up. maybe this something, a notion of this maybe, and that will be helpful. So yeah, so coming back to this resource, here we have the topics that are there in the syllabus. So this is for the fifth standard science.
Can you zoom into this a bit? I'm just
Zoom
wondering.
in.
I'm not sure how it's showing up. So
Okay, I think it's just showing up like we see on the screen. So I'll try to zoom in right now. So the easiest way to do command plus, I guess. Yeah. Is that better?
this
Can
is
you see
better.
it?
Yeah, this is better.
You can see it. Yeah. So this is better.
Perfect.
Yeah. So human body, internal organs, coordination, brain, heart, lungs. That's the first chapter of the fifth standard Maharashtra board syllabus. So this column is for the content. This is for the toy that we're thinking about.
Yes.
And then we have some additional columns which we're still trying to figure out optimally how we can do it. We can have comments by people. We can have so when we give it to the classroom teachers, we can actually have status of the activity so that follow-up can be done easily and stuff like that. So that's kind of the zeroth level resource we have right now. So then there's one for digestion of food. We did one workshop earlier, and we have a video on that. And then we have something on germs and spread of diseases and prevention of diseases using TippyTap, which
Yeah.
is another exciting resource. You can so we've written down a pre-test and a post-test for that. First aid is going to be really crucial also, and even interesting, because I think that's something that the students can learn hands-on, and it'll be really crucial because not a lot of first aid sensitization is usually in our schools. Yeah, natural resources, I think, is anyway people have seen it quite a lot. So yeah. And then you have comments that people can put also. You can just go to the site and see it.
Looks good.
Yeah. Cool. For start, that seems cool. So now anyone who wants this can just look and in the comments or in the information section of this video, there'll be a link which they can access this resource. It's 11 o'clock. And
Sorry, that was my computer. Sorry about that.
yeah, and I think then you can even give comments or send a mail to one of us on how it is and how do you think we can refine it. So we are going to do for fifth standard and eighth standard right now. And were you working on one other standard? Were you working on sixth standard?
I think I had some information of the syllabus for seventh standard.
Seventh standard. Okay, sorry, I just
Yes.
so seventh standard. Fine. So cool. So seventh standard, fifth standard taken care of almost, and because there Nupur Hukmani, who's another Teach for India fellow, she's been like a great help on this. In fact, this all kick-started again this year in from her class. Um, so I think she's been helping along improving the stuff in fifth standard resources. So we need to catch hold of somebody in the seventh standard then.
Yes.
Hmm. That'll be like that's something that we need to look at. So cool. So that was with that, and now this Saturday, which is I think 12th of July, I'm going to Shruti's class and just discussing stuff with her, interacting with her class, and she's interested to get hands-on learning in her class from this week. So we are thinking on how to teach atmospheric pressure, because that's the next
Okay.
chapter she's discussing in her class. Yeah. So if you have any ideas, please, and if you get some resources that locally she can make in her class, and
Sure.
she can keep it in her class. And another issue is about stuff being stolen. So
Oh,
yeah, because she said that it becomes very difficult to get stuff, to take it home again, get stuff um, quite frequently, because anyway they have a lot to carry, and
right.
man, I mean, Teach for India bags are really heavy. They even give big haversack, and they anyway have a laptop and all those resources, assessment sheets, and all to carry. So I think we have to count with something which can be made in the school and just kept, and which is not expensive enough to steal. So
Sure.
that's
I'm
that's the
sure we
thing.
can come up with something.
Yeah. So that's one thing that we can really work on. So yeah, so that's an update about the government schools thing. Just another update is with I was just about an hour ago having a talk with um, a researcher at a postdoc at Ayuka,
Mm-hmm.
and he's been in the Olympiad astronomy Olympiad circuit for quite some time, and
Oh, okay.
I'd seen that in some of these government schools, in fact, all classes have 2 to 3 students who are interested in the academics part of it and would like to learn much more than what their syllabus actually caters to or gives
Sure.
to them.
In fact, I don't think that I've come across any Indian school syllabus that deals with astronomy in greater interest or as a subject or
Okay, that's true. Apart from one chapter on solar system,
yeah, I think that's pretty much about it.
that's pretty much about it. And even stuff like I think celestial sphere and all that's something that they just don't
Talk
you know
about that.
talk about. Although it's really interesting because in many of the village areas, after chemistry and biological sciences or agricultural sciences, excuse me, it's astronomy. In fact, I would say that sometimes astronomy is much more popular in the village areas than in the cities, just because
Yeah.
of the clear sky.
Yeah, they have wonderful skies. They don't have light pollution. So they don't have like dust, things like that that are smog in their atmospheres. In
Right.
fact, people from the cities go out of the city to the villages to look at the sky at night. So
Yeah, yeah. So, which is something that you would have also experienced at Gauri Bindu, right?
yes, yes.
When you were there. Yeah. Yeah. So, I think that's a little unfair, vindicating what you think. Because even when I went once to a village called as Khandala, which is actually in the Satara district, not the Bombay Khandala, in
Mm-hmm.
the Aditya Khandala song, not that one. Um it's actually in the other direction. Is there there were some students who were really interested in astronomy, and their motivation levels seem to be much more than other students who are interested in other subjects.
Sure.
So, another interesting factor, I think, in especially in Maharashtra, is
Mm-hmm.
Jayant Nandikar has written a lot of popular books in Marathi,
Oh, yes.
which really seeps astronomy far and wide.
Yes. I think astronomy is one subject which, if you look for it, there's plenty of resources available at every level. Like if you are a beginner and you want to know about things like the constellation, which is not something that everyday astronomers necessarily use, professional
Mhm.
astronomers.
Mhm.
But right from explaining what constellations are, what stars you can look up in the night sky if you just go out today, and what are the things you can see, whether you see the moon, uh, what else can you see? So right from that level to a very in-depth understanding, right, things that deal with general relativity. There's a lot of information that's available. There's a lot of good information available. But it's just a matter of connecting the people who want to use that information to what's already there. I think that's what's lacking in many cases. They don't know what they can, where they can access this information, what websites are reliable, which books they can refer to, which builds up from, and at which level the book is. Because it's very
Right.
easy to get discouraged if you pick up a fat book which tells you things that you don't really understand now and it doesn't really answer your question. It's very easy to get discouraged. But at the same time, if you're at an intermediate level and have a very, very basic book, things that you know, but doesn't take you further, it doesn't give you a more in-depth understanding. So those kind of things can be problematic. So to be able to link people who want resources and information at different levels with appropriate content, I think that's very important.
Okay. So one resource might be the Ayuka's type of website,
Yes,
which links out a lot of links and websites, which locally and internationally.
sure.
Like there is a website of International Astronomical Union,
Yes,
and recently there was this year of astronomy, International Year of Astronomy. So, and it's we should just look at whether that's it's useful, and if at all there are other sites that
right. I personally like a couple of websites myself, which are more popular science astronomy, but nevertheless give you good information. And from you at least know after looking at their articles and videos what it is that you have to Google to answer your questions. I think that's a very good kind of technique to learn anything. It's not to go and how do you know what to Google? You might have a vague question in mind, but
Right.
Google need not come up the exact answer to the question that you have. You have to use the correct words, right?
Yeah.
So at least these websites are a very good starting point. One of which is Universe Today. The other is
Mhm.
skyandtelescope.org. There is
Okay.
another called astronomy.com. There is Eyes on the Sky. So some of these you need to pay and get a membership, but there are a lot of free resources available on these websites as well.
Okay.
So I think we should start compiling a list of
Yeah.
that.
That's definitely something that, and it could also, and one could think either from the point of view that, oh, what relevance does astronomy have for school teaching, but it can be the other way around also. It's so connected that you can connect any subject with, or I think any context with astronomy also, which kind of I think helps a little in getting some exposure to astronomy as well as you know
There it is.
yeah. So this is just one of the websites which we were talking about, and Ayuka is the institute in Pune, which is the inter-university center for astronomy and astrophysics. So, and this is the for science popularization website of Ayuka. People who are around Pune can arrange a visit to Ayuka. In fact, there's a calendar here. They are like overtly booked. You actually book, I mean, 2 months in advance for catching a workshop here. It's really popular. And Friday is actually, okay, it's actually Thursdays right now, I think. Mm, or best is to just call them because it keeps
Yeah,
changing
there
according.
is contact information given on the website as well. So.
Right, right. There's contact information given on the website. Here you can go here and call these guys, and these guys are really busy. So I would really say that do keep your. I mean, please be a little patient, and you can either call these guys, and if you're not connecting, then send them a mail, and they would revert back as soon as possible. And I think the other resources we're talking about, what you were talking about is here, the hot links. So there's how to
Yes.
be an astronomer. So you have the full range of how you can be an astronomer, and it explains, from I think maybe from the school level, it tells you that where you need to go towards, and there's some FAQs. There's some educator resources. So if you're an educator, so there's resources here, and obviously what we've been talking about all along. This arvindguptatoys.com. I think better look at it. So these are all the toys which are segregated. I'll just run you through the website a minute, and so this is a toy which is called as a Sudarshan Chakra. It can tell about circular motion. So yeah, so we do urge you to just go and watch these, and hope you find it useful, because there's a lot of hard work that these people put in, and in making those websites, as is evident. Like Mayuri must be realizing it right now, because there's a lot of
Yes.
effort that goes into
I mean, even to write
maintaining
like
those blogs.
one line, you have to think so many times and edit and go back and correct it so many times because you want to say the perfect thing
Mm.
and you don't want to just keep rambling on.
Mm.
So a lot of effort does go into it. Gathering resources, making sure you're not repeating yourself, providing appropriate links. So yes, please check out websites and make the most of all the effort that other people have done for you. So
So good. So that's about that. So coming back to, so I was talking to Varun Bhalera, who's a postdoc at Ayuka. He's actually I think he's got a fellowship also there. Is and I was just asking him around, how uh, to go about, his suggestions on going about facilitating motivated kids in government schools in Pune to give a crack at the astronomy Olympiads, or at least start studying for the astronomy Olympiads. Because given, there are like 300 government schools in Pune, so out of these government schools, one could find like 20 kids who are like super interested in learning about astronomy. They might not be super brilliant as of now. That's also depending on the test, but we might find some talent who says, I
they're
really want to study
enthusiastic
astronomy.
about it. You don't have to motivate them, they're already motivated. You just have to coach them and guide them in the right direction.
Exactly, exactly. And or maybe sometimes just give them the resources, and
Yep.
they'll just like come up with wonders. So so it was useful. It was a really interesting discussion, and there is, I think in Ayuka we have help at hand and a lot of volunteers. Um, One nice suggestion that he gave was, you can actually use a lot of people who interested in astronomy, wanted to do careers in astronomy, but actually are into other jobs right now. So
Yeah.
these guys might be useful to volunteer to teach the kids.
Yes.
Yeah. So that kind of helps fueling their passion, as well as kind of helping the kids also.
That's a good idea.
Ah, that's was a very nice idea. Um, which can be tapped through another initiative by Professor Ananda Hota of CBS. I think you must have heard of it.
Yes,
Uh, yeah, you did listen to one of the talks.
right.
Right. So that is RAD at home. So for people who have internet connection and are BSc graduates, you can actually look at RAD at home also. This is radio astronomy at home, and if you go on the website on the Facebook page, they only have a Facebook page, so they use Facebook as a resource to do research, and you can just check out, and they have videos there to do it. So this discussion, we have a good digression on astronomy. I think you're gonna be happy, really happy, maybe. So,
Yes. I
yes,
think
so
we can
that
expect future astronomy related discussions as well.
yes, yes, surely, surely. And so yeah, so that's about the update. And what do you think? How should we go about going these resources? Do you think we are like Excel, the format that we have, and we are going on the right track? Do you think so?
I think so. In for both aspects, the fifth and sixth and seventh standard syllabus, as well as in terms of gathering resources for astronomy related
Uh-huh.
topics.
Uh-huh.
I think so far, putting up an Excel page and just not worrying about things like how to make it look pretty, but at least having information in organized and accessible manner on an Excel sheet is like the first step.
Mhm.
And once we have our all our information listed out, all resources pooled together in one place on starting point, then we can
Mhm.
think about what else we can do and build on that. But I think this is a good way to start.
Okay, that, that seems nice. So cool. I think this is a good note to finish the discussion. And next week we'll be looking at um, maybe some of the follow-up of the atmospheric pressure hands-on activity that we do, and
Right.
do send across, and we'll try to do that activity in the class, Shruti's class, and maybe Nupur's class also can give us some feedback about
I already
how it
have an
went.
experiment in mind which I will type it out and send it across, and then we can gather lots of more ideas by the time we come back next week.
Ah, awesome. That's cool.